He spent like $20,000 a night at strip clubs. He'd take all the strippers back to his house, have them clean his house, and he'd pay them all another $1,000.
We're coming out of college. You know, we're going into the pros. You're a young kid with a lot of money. What are you going to do? You're going to have a great time.
Rumeal James Robinson, born November 13th, 1966. Today's feature is a guy that completely misunderstood the goal of achieving success. Most players you see drafted to the NBA will tell you their first financial plans they have is to buy their mom a new house and help out financially the people who took care of them when they had nothing. Well, Rumeal Robinson took that the opposite way, and when he got on, he didn't buy his mom a shiny new house with a white picket fence and acres to relax. He took hers away, leaving her homeless as she found him years ago, sleeping in abandoned buildings and college dorm room staircases at just 10 years old. Rumeal Robinson could have been one of the greatest NBA stories of perseverance, determination, and triumph, as his past struggles has to trump any other story with what he had to endure at such a young age. It may just be why pressure situations like being down in the NCAA championship game, 1 point with 3 seconds to go, and still winning wasn't a big deal at all for the former Michigan standout. It could also be those same pressure situations that caused Robinson to feel he always needed more out of life and spawned the development of his by any means attitude that wound up sending him to prison on a 6.5-year sentence. With a little family structure, hard work, and survival skills instilled in him by the generous family that took him in, and experiencing the dark sides of life so young, gave Rumeal the drive to have success in the sport of basketball, but may also have took away his love for other people and loyalty, seeing as no one immediately related to him ever cared for him enough to simply want him. As an NBA lottery pick, Robinson's career had all the chances to be whatever he would have liked it to be, but inconsistency, lack of understanding, and an addiction to a lavish lifestyle of cars, clothes, strip clubs, and of course fraud took that away. Nowadays, he's reportedly broke with only a change of pants and $20 to his name, words from his own mouth. But if it's anything we've learned not to believe, is anything Rumeal Robinson has to say. Sadly, that's what it came to. From NCAA star to the White House to scamming his own mom, Rumeal Robinson's Stunted Growth story. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Rumeal Robinson's upbringing has to be the saddest story I think I've ever heard. As a Jamaican-born young child, his mom left him in Jamaica with his grandparents at 3 years old and moved to Boston in search of a better life. Only the better life was for herself. Crazy how that's exactly what Rumeal ended up doing, leaving loved ones for a selfish life path. When his mom settled in her new situation, Rumeal's grandparents saw it a good time to surprisingly send him to live with her on a plane by himself at 10 years old. Hoping he could reconnect with his mother, Rumeal was shocked to see she wanted nothing to do with him and left him out in the cold to fend for himself. He'd sleep wherever he could to avoid predators and the dangers of life being homeless in America. He was finally adopted at 11 years old by Helen and Lou Ford. They supported him and pushed him to be great in life and sports. It led to high school success and a Division I scholarship to one of the biggest college programs ever in Michigan. Stunt number 1, a solid foundation. I have to begin with this because as a young hooper and future man, having a solid foundation can be the most crucial aspect of determining your longevity of success. At least it makes it easier because we still see cases of players that didn't have that and still made it and had long productive lives. But a structure like Rumeal was given as a preteen was a huge reason when he got money and could do what he wanted, he didn't know how to handle that, and it led to him losing it all, falling into debt, and crossing the only family that gave him a chance. Helen Ford found 10-year-old Rumeal sleeping in a Harvard dorm staircase and asked him why he was out on the street so young. He teared up and replied, "My mother doesn't want me anymore." A caregiver to other foster kids, it was all she needed to hear to understand her next move. She took him into her house and tried to give him structure. To her credit, it worked. He went on to become a standout high school player, achieving a scholarship to Michigan on a team that had 7 total future NBA players, including future NBA All-Star Glenn Rice. By his sophomore year, Rumeal was Robin to Rice's 25 points a game scoring Batman as they won the national championship over Seton Hall on a Rumeal Robinson drive and a bad call that put Rumeal on the line. He sank both to give the Wolverines the overtime win and had 21 points and 11 assists that game. With Rice off to the league, Robinson had his best year and decided to call it quits after his junior season. He was taken 10th overall in the 1990 draft by Atlanta. He became a millionaire as an older 24-year-old rookie, then immediately began spending lavishly on material things and strip clubs. By 30, he was broke and out of the league, playing for 7 teams in 6 years because he just didn't have the guidance and foundation he needed to see he was heading down the wrong path. Stunt number 2, an unfocused attitude.
You led your high school team to a state championship. You led Michigan to an NCAA title. Rumeal Robinson, what do the Atlanta Hawks need?
I'm sure you've all heard your parents say it, and if not, I'll say it for them. Attitude truly determines your altitude. Rumeal, up until the NBA, always had a hard-working attitude, and physically you could see it paying off. He was 6'2", but chiseled like you could tell he was in the gym. Also in college, he focused intently on his schoolwork, leaving with a 2.9 GPA. As soon as he was drafted, that all went out the window. He didn't have a disruptive demeanor around his team, but his focus just wasn't there after being introduced to millions and the pro hooper lifestyle where anything you want is yours, including the ones removing their clothes for a living. He bought Ducati motorcycles, cars, high-class restaurants nightly, and paid escorts after games just to massage him and feed him his favorite green grapes. On the court, his play didn't live up to expectations. He came into an Atlanta team expected to fight Doc Rivers and Spud Webb for the point guard job, but ended up losing to both as the eventual third-string guy. He averaged 13 points and 5 assists in year 2, showing his full potential. But this wouldn't last long as he was traded to the Nets after that season, who already had Kenny Anderson and Drazen Petrovic. Not playing in a role he was happy with, he turned to enjoying life off the court where he was rich and most people knew him. His game continued to slip and his body kept getting traded to misfit after misfit NBA situation. Stunt number 3, the heart of a scammer.
Like, I was just looking at it like, I go rob a nigga and get like this much. Why would I go to work for a week? You feel me?
One thing I hate most in the world is a thief. Being one nowadays has been glorified in music so much that you now have clear soft boys without a gun that think taking money from hardworking people because in your heart you're too weak to achieve your own success is okay. Robinson didn't have the focus to stick in the NBA, so after his 7th team in 6 years, he gave up on becoming a great NBA player and saw fast money as his way out. So he turned to scamming. He attracted investors sold on his pipe dream of building a resort in Jamaica. He even persuaded his adopted mom to put a second mortgage on her house and give the money to him as seed money with a $500,000 return. With credit problems, he couldn't get a bank loan, so would borrow from other investors with promise of fast returns and a legacy in Jamaica. But quickly, the money was used up on Robinson's lavish lifestyle that was over in just a few years. Eventually, those investors sued him, but according to him, he no longer had more than a change of clothes to pay them back. As far as his adopted mom's house, he agreed to sell it to an investor without Helen Ford knowing. She had to leave in 2009. Robinson was arrested and served 4 years in prison and had his pension seized to pay investors. Helen would get her house back in 2013, as no one ever really heard from Rumeal Robinson again. All in all, Rumeal Robinson did make it to the league, but he was already too damaged. It was a matter of time before he did something to hurt people just as he was hurt. He became a huge success after everything that happened to him as a child, only to resort to scamming and disappointing his loved ones so he could enjoy life. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.